by Natex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Well, the sunshine did return today. It was another nice one across central Illinois. You can see on our roofing dog iNet Rapture weather camera. Let's show you the satellite picture because the clouds are beginning to increase once again, and we are going to be finding a little bit more in the way of cloud cover overnight tonight and into the day tomorrow. Temperatures a little cooler, 32 in Champaign, 33 in Springfield, and it's going to be another kind of a cool night as readings will be dipping back down to those mid-20s by 11 o'clock. We're talking teens by tomorrow morning in some areas. We'll come back and show you how this beautiful weather continues. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
Now from WCIA 3 News.
How do you properly thank someone who's given you back the freedom that was stolen from you?
A once Democratic governor, BLAGOJEVICH, now says he's indebted to President Trump. What else he had to say as a free man.
And a student and teacher were killed in a crash last year. Now IDOT is recommending a change where they died.
It's the tale of two budgets. What Governor Pritzker put on the chopping block if voters don't approve his progressive income tax.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 5.
President Trump is a man who is tough and outspoken, but he also has a kind heart.
Rod Blagojevich is calling himself a Trumpocrat after waking up a free man. Good evening. I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jennifer Roscoe. Today, the former governor thanked President Trump for giving him back his, quote, stolen freedom. The president commuted Blagojevich's sentence after 8 years. He was supposed to spend 14 years in prison for trying to sell Barack Obama's former Senate seat and trying to shake down a children's hospital. WCIA 3's Jessica Coons is with us now. So, Jessica, he had a lot to say about the president today.
Jennifer, Blagojevich said he would like to vote for him, and he is eligible to vote in Illinois now that he's out of prison. Blagojevich walked out of his home in Chicago this morning with his family, who has stuck by his side during all of this. He was holding a napkin to his chin. He says he cut himself while shaving today because he's not used to using normal razors after his time in prison. The former governor went on to thank the president over and over again, and to this day, he maintains his innocence.
From beginning to end, this was persecution masquerading as prosecution. I got into politics to help people. I didn't get into politics to make money. I didn't get into politics to enrich my family or my friends. I got into politics because I was fortunate to live in the greatest country that's ever existed.
Blagojevich had supporters at today's news conference, but at one point a protester tried to interrupt him. Patty told her husband to ignore them. As for what comes next, Blagojevich says he wants to help change the criminal justice system. He can never hold public office in Illinois again. Jennifer.
Jessica, thank you. As we first told you on the WCIA 3 News app, Governor Pritzker rolled out his second budget proposal today in a joint session before the House and Senate.
This budget address was unlike any before it. The governor's progressive income tax could kick in halfway through the fiscal year if voters approve it in November. We have team coverage tonight. WCIA 3's Gabrielle Franklin is live in our Capitol newsroom to explain how this budget would impact kids in classrooms and those in the care of the state at DCFS. But first to our Capitol Bureau Chief, Mark Maxwell. Mark, this budget is full of ifs.
Yeah, Paul, good evening. If is the big word here. If voters approve Governor Pritzker's progressive income tax in November, then the state would open up and start spending about $1.5 billion extra, spending money on K-12 education, on higher education, on human services and local governments. But we don't get that answer until November when voters go to the polls. So if voters reject that progressive income tax, what then? That's why Governor Pritzker essentially wrote two different budgets here. One spends that extra money, and one threatens to make cuts without it. The governor's gambit raising the stakes on his biggest campaign promise and threatening to blow up the $350 million annual increase in the school funding formula if he doesn't get his way.
It inevitably cuts into some of the things that we all hold most dear. Increased funding for K-12 education, universities and community colleges.
Holding education and healthcare hostage in order for him to be able to fulfill a campaign promise, I think is inappropriate. And that's what I heard today.
The governor also used his stage at the joint session here to condemn what he called cynics, who he says, quote, believe in the worst and do nothing to stop it from happening. He lashed out at his predecessor, Governor Rauner, for, quote, trying to bankrupt the state and seeking to destroy government. Remember, last year, a lot of what the governor said in his budget address never actually came to fruition. Think of this like the starting of a negotiation point. A lot of this changes over the next 3 or 4 months or so as lawmakers start to debate. But today, Governor Pritzker put down his benchmarks of what he'd like to see happen. Reporting in Springfield, Mark Maxwell, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
Certainly a lot of negotiating to be done, but a lot of ifs, as you pointed out. Mark Maxwell, thanks. And if the governor gets his progressive income tax, people making north of $250,000 a year would see a huge jump in their income taxes. Right now, everyone pays 4.95%. That would jump to 7.75% and higher. Politicians could change those tax rates and income brackets in the future. The budget plan is $42 billion.
So where does the governor want all that money to go? WCIA 3's Gabrielle Franklin picks up our team coverage tonight live from our Capitol newsroom. So Gabrielle, the governor highlighted a few areas where he wants the state to improve. Who does he want to make sure gets a hand from the state?
Well, Jennifer, after a year of headlines surrounding children dying all around the state, the governor says with or without the graduated income tax, DCFS will get more funding. Now, the governor is proposing an 8% increase over last year's budget, boosting the funding by $147 million. The money is set to increase direct service staff and support more children entering the foster home program. Director Mark Smith says that the funding will make a big difference for workers in the field. The governor's staff says that this year's markup is a 20% increase over the 2019 budget. Now, lawmakers and groups working close to the agency say that throwing more money at the agency won't necessarily fix all the problems, but everyone is acknowledging that a lack of funding in the past is responsible for some of the issues that DCFS is still facing today. Jennifer?
All right, thank you so much. Now, the proposed budget will bring the agency's funding up to around $1.5 billion. The funding will allow 123 more direct service staffers. The agency already supports 15,000 kids in the foster home system. They anticipate the money will help them house more.
In other news tonight, we do have an update. Crews in Danville are investigating the third vacant house fire this year. It happened last night near the corner of Clay and Robinson around 6. The house didn't have any electricity or gas connected to it. It was owned by the city and was on its demolition list. A house next to it was also damaged by the fire. Investigators have not said what started it. They're asking the public for help with keeping an eye on empty homes.
If you have an abandoned house and you're a neighbor and you look at abandoned houses and you know the house is abandoned and you see people going in and out, they should not be there. So I call the local police department and have them at least check the house out.
3 house fires in Danville are being investigated as arson. They all happened within hours of each other earlier this month. 2 of those houses were vacant. We have an update on a Target 3 investigation. Changes are coming to an intersection where a 5-year-old and a teacher died in Moultrie County. Tyson Mendoza and Lori Samples were killed in a crash. It happened at Illinois Route 32 and Bruce Findlay Road in September. IDOT released a report today that calls for changing the intersection from a 2-way to a 4-way stop. There have been 28 crashes at the intersection in the last 10 years. 22 were turn or angle related. Those are the types of crashes IDOT hopes the changes will prevent. You can read all of IDOT's recommendations at WCIA.com.
A group that advocates against violence in Danville says someone is pretending to be one of their members. The founder of Concerned Citizens of Danville says this person is also claiming to be a U.S. Marshal. Part of what the group does is go door to door and talk to people. They pass out flyers and give neighbors blue lights to put outside their homes. The group's founder says someone's been pretending to be a member and knocking on doors. That's why they're making badges to carry with them.
That anytime somebody knocks on your door and they say they're from Ameren or that they're the police, ask for ID. If the ID doesn't look legitimate, do not open your door. It is a very easy way for somebody to push in, rob you.
The group also carries permits that let them canvass in the city. They say you should ask to see that permit if you are unsure.
One community college wants to stay affordable, while Parkland thinks repeating history will help.
Plus, businesses in one town are picking up broken glass and doors. Why it's not what was taken that is hurting some.